Hey, good morning, everybody. Mark Westcott here, and today we're moving out west. We're out towards the centre of southern Queensland at Roma. So, David Hickey, welcome to Tea and Scones.
Morning, Mark. Morning, everyone.
Mate, it's great to have you on board today. You'll probably see that some of you that have been following me have you'll notice I'm starting a new thing for me called Fancy Shirt Friday, and I thought I'd just wear it again today. And it just so happened that David's turned up with a bloody bright shirt on as well. So he's getting ready for Friday, obviously. So
every day is a holiday in a shirt like this, mate.
That's right. Wherever we are in the world wearing these shirts, we're having a good time, aren't we, David?
Exactly right, mate. It's all part of the mindset.
No, mate. No. Great to have you. Great to have you on board. And
Thanks for asking.
Just I've made a quick background. You're a fellow past student of Southport School and a fellow rower. So do you want to start off by telling me about the race that just got away the head of the river for you in 1977?
77, yeah, we lost by a noseball. It was a bit devastating, but you get that. So we went right through the whole season. We do compete against the GPS level. And we, I don't know, about once a month, we'd go and take on other GPS schools, always up in Brisbane in the stretch of water there, where it depends on what side of the river you were on, whether you won or lost.
Milton Reef.
Yeah, Milton Reef, because of the currents. And they always used to try and run the first 8 race was always tried to be timed so the run would be neutral, but never used to work. So we did that all year, and it was going to be either us or Brisbane Grammar, and it was Brisbane Grammar.
At least it wasn't Nudgee College, so that was a good.
No, that's exactly. Well, I don't think they actually rode in those days.
No,
they do now.
They do. Now, mate, let's start off. Mate, you're a very positive guy. You know, we've caught up a bit over the years and so on. What do you do to just keep a really good mindset? What do you do each week? And it's Monday morning, tea and scones, and good to see you into your bloody morning tea while we're chatting too, David. Once again, I just want to prove the point, mate. Tea and scones, here are the scones.
one of my favourites is toast and honey, so I'm having that.
Good on you. Now, what do you do each week, Dave? What do you do to keep a good mindset? Do you goal setting, that sort of stuff? What do you do?
I guess the main thing I do is just keep active. I try to be active all the time, always doing something. I remember one of my boys said to me once, he said, I don't know, I think we just moved to Rocky, and I don't know, I was just walking out the door, he's saying, God, Dad, you get out of bed and you just go. And I mean, but it's about having things to do. So you need to have things to do. So you do need to plan what you're going to do. And possibly you need to plan ahead a week or so. But yeah, I mean, I have activities and things like that I do all the time. I keep active in the community. I'm out here. I'm part of Easter in the Country committee and run that once a year. Obviously didn't happen this year, unfortunately. And then apart from that, I'm on the Roma Echidnas Rugby Union committee. And we played our first game yesterday, had our first game for the season. We'll only have a short season, but I mean, it's all part of keeping busy, keeping active.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about it. You're out there at Roma. Do you want to just talk about, well, I'll ask the question while you're chewing your sandwich, mate. Now, you're out there at Roma. You're very important in the what I used to call the DPI, the Department of Primary Industries, which is now DAF, I think, DAF.
And yep, Department of Ag and Fisheries.
Fisheries, not much fishing out at your place, buddy, but do you want to tell me what you do out there? I know you're very important and you're in charge, so let's talk about, you know, what you do and just in regard to the area there.
Well, just ask me, mate. I am very important. You don't. In fact, you don't even have to ask. I'll just tell you. So my role is I'm senior industry agribusiness officer, and I guess my role is working across the industry, the extensive grazing industries. That's my primary focus. So beef and sheep, and mainly extensive beef, not so much in the feedlot realm, though it does go to there. And it is about industry development. So it's not about working with individual enterprises as such. I do work with individual enterprises, though it is about working at an industry level. So knowing what's going on in the industry, what the thoughts of the industry are. Spend a lot of time talking to people, and then spend a lot of time talking to other people in government and at other levels, trying to get the message across. So in that regard, I'm sort of piggy in the middle. I interpret what the government is saying and pass that on down to the producers, and interpret what the producers are saying and pass that up to the government. So,
so David, what are the big issues at the moment out in your particular area there? What are the what are the pressing issues between government and producers right now?
Oh, there's the ongoing veg management stuff, being able to clear land and make land more productive, and it's more a political issue than it is a natural issue, really, and that that's just what you've got to deal with. So the government sets limits, and then the producers have to work with those, and it's about, I guess, my role I play there. When the government do make a regulation that producers have to work to, there's no use banging your head against a wall. There really isn't, because it's just not going to change until such time as you get critical mass and that causes it to change. So you might as well just go and do what you can do in the meantime. Building up support to change it to whatever would be a better, more practical solution.
Yeah, I know what you're talking. Sorry, I just got in there, Dave. Basically, what you're talking about is that graziers can't cut down excess foliage to make their land more productive or to feed dying stock if there's a drought. That's basically what the issue is. And I know you can't be political about this, but what you've got to try and do is muster some critical mass to help the government see they need to change their mind. I suppose that's what you're saying in a way.
Well, it is. I mean, that's part of the deal of my role as industry development. It is about creating the situation so industry can develop, and it's not so much creating, me creating, but it is about industry creating. I like to set things up so that the people who benefit from whatever are the drivers of that, and therefore they have total ownership of it. So it is about supporting them to drive it, and without, as you say, I can't go against the political requirements of the day. That's against my sort of role. But I do work with people and talk to them about, well, what do they need to do? How do they create change? And so we work through that process.
Now, Dave, we got together professionally 3-4 years ago, I guess it was. You run functions out there. I guess you're the guy out in those areas that knows everybody. You know what how all the graziers, farmers are getting on, and who needs help in certain areas. And so you're a good guy to obviously to know out there, because you know what's available from the government and so on in regard to getting help for people that are in trouble as well. But you put together a day, as I say, about 4 years ago, where you invited me to come and talk about succession planning to a bunch of graziers out near the Warbies place, and you're running another one soon. So that's obviously something you do to try and help educate and make information available to people. I guess I won't say they're your constituents, but people in your area that your organisation's trying to help. So do you want to just talk about the sorts of things you put together, the sort of people you get along to talk, and how you look out to see how you can help people in the areres?
Yeah, it is a big question. So it is. I guess it's one of the things, and I generally I'm generally able to run about 1 or 2 of these a year. I call them tips and topics days. I stole that from when I used to work at Charleville years ago. When I started working in the department, DPI in Charleville, and we used to run days there. A guy called Noel Dempsey, he was the head veterinary officer then. He's now got sheep place down on the Trap Rock. And Noel used to organise us, the young guns in the office, to run these days called Tips and Topics Days, which is where you identify a host in a local area, and it's just a very localised area. So the one we did, Tealbar, we did that one, wasn't it?
That's it.
That was,
Tealbar.
Yeah, southwest of Surat. And that was 5 years ago. Actually, I checked that out the other day, and I'm thinking, geez, I better go back to Tealbar. So we're going up to Toowoomba, which is north of
Miles.
Mitchell. North Mitchell. Yep. And we're going up there. So fella up there, Bim Struss, Anthony Struss, and his wife Susan. So they're on a place called Havelock. And I know Bim well. I actually have I went to college with one of Bim's brothers, and then one of Bim's brothers actually went out with one of my sisters, and then I met Bim.
You do know everybody, right?
So what goes around comes around. Yeah. Anyway, so I asked Bim if he'd be the host, and that basically involves just getting a list of names from him, and he gives me a list of names, and then I contact those names and ask them for some more names, and basically spread out, just create this web around the wider local area, gaining insight into what they want to hear about. And there is no limitation on the topics. They can, if they want to know how to do some sort of macrame, well, that's fine. I'll try and... It's by popular vote. So if 30 people want to know how to make paper swans, then I'll organise someone to come and talk to them about paper swans. It's generally more production focused and business focused. So the topics coming out, so I collect up to 100 topics from 50 different people, and then popular vote wins, and I then set about getting speakers to speak to those topics. So and succession has come up as a topic, a popular topic in the area. So that's why I've asked you along, Mark, as I do.
Yeah, thank you.
So that's the process, I guess, and generally go to a local community area. So Toowoomba has their rodeo and campcraft set up, and they have a rodeo and campcraft committee, obviously, and so they'll do the catering, and they benefit from it in terms of the cost of catering and things like that. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. So what sort of speakers have you, so what were the topics that became popular for the ones coming up in a few weeks?
So we got, so 6th of August at Toowoomba. So it is, the topics, the two key ones, I guess, at this stage have come up, or three actually, are genetics, I should say 4, and succession. So the people in the bush are really keen on the whole, but they're looking for equity in terms of connectivity. They don't have the connectivity that people have in the city, and I can go back. I started in DAF in '93 in Charleville, and it used to cost me 100 times more than it cost someone else in the city to get a piece of data. And it's a bit similar to that out here now. The cost, there's not so much of a cost difference. It's just the speeds you can get and the reliability. The reliability is just absolutely hopeless. But they do manage, and they get by. And so there is connectivity. So connectivity is just connecting to the internet. Once you're connected, it is about then what do you do with that. So another subtopic that we're going to talk on is telemetry. And there happens to be a bloke down at Dirranbandy, a guy called Andrew Seville. He owns a property called Wine Bar, and he has Wi-Fi'd his whole property. He got sick of having to go and stand on the bank of a dam like a teapot and make a phone call. So he Wi-Fi'd his whole property, and so he basically from in his property, while he's on his property, or actually while he's in his car, he actually makes Wi-Fi phone calls. His car is a mobile hotspot. It just picks up and transmits Wi-Fi. So you've got cellular, which is your mobile network, and then you've got Wi-Fi, and then there's other things under that. There's satellite as well, of course.
Right.
And so Andrew's basically set up his whole place, and he uses a whole system of things. He collects a cellular signal, and then Wi-Fi's that around the place. He has video cameras and all that sort of stuff that monitor things, and they require fairly high bandwidth, so have to be Wi-Fi, and they use a lot of power, so they're big batteries and big solar panels. But then he's gone right down to monitoring water levels in troughs and monitoring tank levels and flow rates in tanks and things like that. He always has, on all of these things, he has a redundancy factor. So, and this is to do with telemetry. So he's monitoring the waters and things like that. And he uses a thing called LoRaWAN. So it's a low frequency bandwidth that can travel a long distance, but it costs very little to run. You run a monitoring thing on a AA battery with a solar panel the size of a matchbox, so it's low cost as well. It's all very much new. It's relatively new, and it is open source stuff. So you make your own devices, or you can, which is what Andrew does, or you can buy them off the shelf. You tend to pay a fair bit more for them off the shelf, but they're there. So that's Andrew.
Well, just chatting on that, I mean, that's fantastic, David, because that sort of stuff obviously just saves so much time and effort, especially on people with bigger properties. You know, you're just saving all that time of running around checking the water every day or two, and you know, the time and effort that takes out of being able to do other productive things. So you're saving obviously a lot on staffing and so on. And I've seen other situations. I know my brother's on the original family property. He I think he's nearly at a stage where he's looking at, if he hasn't got dinner already, on his iPhone, he can basically see all the you know, the water levels and so on, and all the troughs around the property and so on. So that's what you're really talking about, isn't it?
Yes, and I mean that's it. So there are other systems that are out there. Andrew's is fairly low cost in terms of his TV cameras and all of that. That obviously is reasonably high cost, but it's all hooked up by Wi-Fi. A lot of the other systems, telemetry systems around the place, use satellite, or they use the cellular network. They got to make a phone call, so you got to have a mobile plan and all that sort of thing. So it does get a little bit sort of more expensive to run. And his systems, the system that he has set up, and I'm trying to get. I wanted Andrew to come and do it because I didn't want someone. He's not selling anything. He's just going to talk about a concept of this is how you do it
practically.
Yeah, how it works practically and why you might do it. And I am a little bit betwixt and between with the whole labour efficiency thing, because the more efficient we make things, the more labour efficient, the less people in the community. And we do need to, if we want our rural communities to survive, then, you know, I mean, I'm half of a thought that maybe we need to put the technology on the shelf and just say, well, we can use that if we want to, but I'd rather have someone go and do it.
Well, maybe you can put the cameras up and they can check to make sure the jackaroo is actually working when you send him out in the back paddock.
Exactly.
Make sure he's not just out there loafing around.
Yeah.
That's fine. No, well, that'll be really interesting. So I'm looking forward to listening to his presentation as well. Now you've got someone else, Dave. You said someone else coming along.
Yeah. So then we got genetics. So there's a few people up that way who are who work on genetically improving their herds. There's not a lot of people who do that, but it is something that is very all people will tell you that they do, and basically it's because they buy bulls or cows or whatever from a particular stud that has particular genetics that they like. You know, it looks nice, it's a nice color, it grows well, whatever, but they don't really know the facts and figures. And so the facts and figures of beef genetics is a thing called EBV. So I've now got to think of the name of it. Something breeding value. And and so there's breeding values for all sorts of things, and that growth rates and return to calf and whatever. One of the most significant, and they've done a lot of studies, and there's an EBV on the scrotal size of the bull, and that is actually direct correlation to the ability of a cow to return to calf after her first calf. So
can't wait to see a YouTube video on that one, David.
But Tim, so I get Tim Emery. Tim works with Tropical Beef Technical Services up here in Queensland, or up in the north of Australia. He travels. He also works. So he still works. Tim is a beef extension officer with the DPI, and then he got the job with Tropical Beef Technical Services, and he still works with the DPI. He still does work for them, and it does inquiries and that sort of thing. Though his main work is focused on this genetics side of things, and so he'll be up there talking about EBVs and how they can be used to improve your herd. And it is quite a, he's actually got the facts that shows that, this EBV, this bull with this EBV over this cow created this change in growth rate and that sort of thing. So it is pretty impressive stuff. And the important thing is that Bim Struss, who is the host for the day, he actually uses the process and uses Tim to help him select what bulls he should buy each year. And then they actually do they do genetic testing, DNA testing to match bulls to calves, and then they can trace it all the way through and note the gains in terms of ability to do whatever it is that they're chasing. So it is really, and that's hard facts that you can't deny that the numbers are there. So which is really good. So trying to get a lot of people, trying to get more people on board to do that, because it just improves. One of the things you can chase is improvements in your pastures and in your grass and things like that. But obviously, if you can better utilize that pasture with cattle that grow faster or better or reproduce better, then obviously you're getting a double benefit.
So David, tell me, you've got, those two guys that you've just rolled off straight away. I mean, they're two hugely interesting topics and of great value to rural people. Are you going to live stream your presentations out at
Toowoomba?
Toowoomba, I knew it was an easy name to remember. Are you recording or live streaming, or because that would be valuable?
Yeah, so it will be recorded. So one of the things, obviously, one of the subjects is connectivity, and that is because there is no or very limited connectivity up there. Most people have satellites.
Yep.
We went to a place called Begonia. It's actually 2 years ago, and Andrew came along as a connectivity expert for me again there, and we actually hooked a Wi-Fi broadcast thing to the house satellite system, and then beamed it over to the community centre, so that people, could actually get reception and get connectivity. Just to show them how simple it was. That took Andrew and I half an hour to set up.
Wow.
We just hung it off the side of the house, and the community centre has a tennis court, and just hung the receiver off the side of the tennis court, and just created this link. And so there is a house not far from I've got to just check out what sort of connectivity is already there and whether we can create the same sort of link. And if we do, we may look into doing live streaming, though I suspect I'll just record it and then put it up to YouTube.
Yeah. Fantastic. Look, we've just got a few minutes to go. So tell me, you had another topic as well? Well, there is.
It's one of my pet topics, I suppose, and that's holistic management. So over the years, there's been lots of decision support tools, but they haven't been really linked together, and they're still not completely linked together. But now they're getting better, and we're getting better and better at it. And there is some pretty good technology out there now. We're using satellite remote sensing They can actually
Yep.
predict the pasture quality and predict pasture quantity, and therefore you can predict depending on your herd, you can predict growth rates, but you can also measure that because they have walkover scales. Every time the animals come to a drink, you weigh them. And so basically you're monitoring their weight gain, you're monitoring whether the pasture is improving or getting worse. And therefore you can predict going forward what the stocking rate, how it needs to change, when you might be able to sell them, all that sort of stuff. And then that goes forward to planning for infrastructure improvements and capital expenditure. So, or paying down of loans or whatever. So it does, we're getting closer. We're not quite there where these things are all disjointed too at the moment, but they're better technologies that allow us to make the decision nearly in real time, which is good.
Yeah.
And
sorry.
You're right. So that's there is a project running in the north and in central Queensland called eBeef, and so we're going to talk about that, the whole concept of it, and hopefully it'll kick off down here. We'll use that. So this day is all about awareness and stakeholder engagement. So we'll use the presentation time to create the awareness, and then we'll try and follow up and get some support and get a project like that running down here.
David, you've been involved. I'm not saying anything about your age here. You're a couple of years younger than me, but I mean, you've been involved in this for years and years. I mean, I'm just listening to what you're saying, and it's just it's light years ahead of what used to happen in the old days, where you'd go and touch the sheep on the back to see whether they're in good condition or not, and you'd send them out to the paddock, and a few months later you'd bring them in and shear them and hope for the best. And now it's just there's so much more information, so much more technology, so much more research, I guess, in regard to how to make sure they grow faster, they grow better. You breed out the bad ones and breed in the good ones, and so on. It's just it's a different world, isn't it? And it's just the growth of technology is becoming exponential, as you're talking about today.
It is, and it's getting to the stage where, I mean, from my observation, people are still in the business. They're still in agriculture or being a grazier or a farmer, because that's what they do. It's their lifestyle, and they're getting pressured. We're pressuring them to be businessmen, and they don't want to be businessmen. So basically, that's just my observation, and so basically these things need to be very cost effective. When you do make come up with a thing like this, in terms of this whole satellite monitoring the pastures and that sort of thing. So that's not actually something that the grazier or the producer or the farmer would do. It's actually you'll probably have a consultant do that and advise you on it. And so it has to be very cost effective and
time effective.
Yeah.
Time effective. If I can just, we've just got a minute to go, but one of the things that I was hearing as you were talking, and you ended up coming to the same conclusion, was a lot of the old farmers aren't going to want to go out there and set up all this stuff and do all the monitoring and fill out all the forms and stuff like that. They just like being farmers and graziers. And I guess that's where the role is for an outside to outsource this sort of capability for someone to come in and do it on a weekly, monthly basis or whatever, and to set this stuff up and to guide the graziers and farmers without making them become technocrats themselves.
Yeah, and so it is about those people setting themselves up to be consultants, setting themselves up so they don't have to charge too much, but they do have to have it there for a critical mass of people. They need to have. And so my role is talking to those consultants, trying to get them to reduce their costs down, not costing themselves out of it, or being only available to the top 20% or 10% of the producers. And the other thing is talking to producers to say, well, if you adopt this, the cost will come down, and it is more effective for you, and you don't have to make. There's a thing called brain's just gone dead, but there's information overload and there's analysis paralysis. So you get to a stage where you have so much data, you're trying to analyze it and you just can't, and you don't.
Yeah.
And so
now, David, this thing coming up, I'll just better finish up here. This thing
tips coming up.
Yeah, do you just want to give the details of it again? If someone wants more information, do they talk to you? Or just
Yes.
How do they get in contact with you?
So anyone can get in contact with me if they just actually if they do the Google thing for David Hickey, they'll find me at Future Beef on the Future Beef website. I don't know. I'm not actually part of AgriScience. That's AgriScience, but I'm lucky enough to be included in their informational stuff. The other thing is they can find me on Facebook. They can find you on Facebook. There will be.
They'll get in touch with one of us, won't they?
Yeah.
What's the date again? The date?
It's the 6th of August, Thursday, 6th of August. It'll be starting at around about 9 o'clock at Toowoomba, which is about an hour north of Mitchell.
Fantastic, mate. Mate, thanks for coming on today. I just want to finish off by saying now these fancy shirt Fridays. Let's just talk quickly on TradeMut. It's trade TradeMUTT.com is how you buy these shirts. Now, David, you know the story behind these. This is all about these shirts are meant to be conversation starters. Yes. Conversation starters, and it's all to do with men's mental health, isn't it? Men's and women's.
Yes, that's it.
Mental health. You want to just a quick 20 seconds on what you know about this?
Yeah. Well, I actually know the fellas involved distantly, but I do know them, and I know the background for them doing it. And it is a really great initiative. A lot of my friends, I know a lot of people in the bush. That's their actual work shirts. That's what they work in every day. And and obviously no one's going to see that except the cows and the trees and the birds and whatever. But for them, it is a network that they're part of, and it's probably good for their really good for their mental health to know that there is someone out there who's actually thinking of them, sort of thing, and that's a big part of it.
Yeah, look, on the back of the shirts, this is a conversation starter, and on the front here, whoops, going the other way. What is it? YNWA, which stands for You'll Never Walk Alone. So it's a great initiative because men's mental health in the bush is a big deal, and so anything that can bring attention to that and to help people start conversations is a good thing. David, our time's up, mate. Thank you. I've had a great ball. This is the first time we've gone west with tea and scones, so we've gone internationally. Excellent. We've gone to all the other states, and now I've gone bush. So I feel really good about our chat this morning, mate. So thanks for being involved, and I'll see you on the 5th or 6th out there.
Thanks for having me.
Look forward to catching up. Good on you, buddy. See you, mate.
Thanks, Mark. See ya. Bye all.